Hey, what's up, everybody? I want to welcome you to another episode of the Dreamers Pro Daily Recap, where we give you a recap of all of the hot topics that we covered that day. You can catch them in their long format and also catch it fully streaming for free on Apple Podcasts. So, yesterday we did a show, or live, rather, reacting to the comments that were made on the new Rich Paul, Max Kellerman podcast. I think it's called Game Over, right? I was watching a little bit of it today, right? I think it's called Game Over. Let me see. Game Over with Max Kellerman and Rich Paul, right? And I want to say this quickly. I was watching a little bit of their first episode today, like spending a little bit more time watching it. This show, I know, is going to be better than Mind the Game, by far. And the reason I'm saying that is because Max Kellerman is doing a lot of pushing back on Rich Paul. He's actually like pushing back on some of the things. He's not like Steve Nash, who just looks like somebody being held hostage on that damn show. He's actually pushing back, and and he's not just letting Rich Paul run away with the show. And that's what's going to make the show at least good, right? But Rich Paul was going viral all throughout yesterday for some comments that he was making about Austin Reeves. And the offensive that these guys are trying to launch now is Austin Reeves should now come off the bench to appease LeBron James. Austin Reeves, who is on the verge of signing a $200 million contract, becoming an all-star, should sacrifice that for a 41, 42-year-old who's already a billionaire to help him. Bro, you can go kick rocks, right? We're not doing none of that. I'm not sacrificing nothing for you, bro. I'm the second best player on the team. I got the second best numbers. I ain't sacrificing nothing. You come off the bench. I'm not doing it. That would be my mentality. But Rich Paul goes out there and starts saying these things about Austin Reeves. And I'm like, I've never seen anything like this before. To the point where you have former NBA players calling him out. DeMarcus Cousins, Kenyon Martin, Kwame Brown, and a few others like, yo, is this really happening? You're talking about a player on a team that your one of your clients plays on, and that player is up for a contract year, and a player you don't represent, and you're saying all these things about, like, I thought that was insane, right? And it looked like it's something that's coming from LeBron through Rich Paul. That's how it comes off as, right? You have that part. But then I decided to tune into the show today because I was watching little clips of it. But then there was a part where Rich Paul decided to take a shot at the Lakers franchise. Yes, you heard me right. He started calling out the Lakers franchise and calling them a franchise that's not a winning organization and a franchise that's absolutely rudderless. Rich Paul is taking blatant shots at the Lakers and Lakers management. For those of you who didn't hear those comments, I want to play his comments for you now. And I'm going to come back and continue on the show. Take a listen to Rich Paul here.
Well, I would say that about a lot of teams. Just because you won a championship or several championships, that doesn't necessarily make you a championship organization. Championship organizations, put it this way, the Oklahoma City Thunder, prior to winning a championship, if you would have asked me, is this a championship organization? And I would say, yes. The only problem they have is they haven't won yet. But
Sam Presti and
well, just everything, the culture, you have to have depth in the front office. What do you mean depth in the front office? Meaning the front office is layered, right? Because you have scouting, you have advanced scouting, you have your international aspect of it, you have your pro scouting, you have your college scouting, and you're looking at it from a place of how are we building this team, right? You're managing assets, you're stockpiling draft capital and things of that nature. And you look up and it's like, boom. But while doing that, you're establishing a culture. Meaning, it don't matter what name comes in here, you are going to do things the way we do them.
The Miami Heat.
The Miami Heat was another one. San Antonio is another one. I think the Lakers can trend towards that way now.
Because they got the ownership?
Well, the new ownership can help in different ways. But prior to that, there was never a conversation of this is we're going to help you understand how to win a championship because this is a championship organization, right? Mm-hmm. I think the Lakers probably didn't give themselves enough credit of being a organization that's won all those championships to say, hey, yeah, I know we're the purple and gold, we're in LA, but we're going to establish certain things despite what your name is. Yeah, and it's good to be able to roll out the red carpet and things like that, but once you get up underneath that, there's just some things foundational that is never going to change.
But that makes it sound like, because obviously LeBron gets, like the Lakers seem to present this kind of inviting culture to attract superstars, right? Look at the way we treated Kobe Bryant at the end. We paid him when he wasn't even good anymore, and we took care of our own. Hey, LeBron, you might like to play here. But you as LeBron's agent and Clutch Sports as his agent, you're saying, really, the way I hear that, you correct me if I'm wrong, is and I don't mean to interview you on this, but I mean, but you're saying they are catering too much to people like my client instead of insisting on doing things a certain way?
I'm saying when you are a team like the Lakers and others, I think there's several teams in the league. Sometimes when you are that attraction, right? You're in LA, you're the purple and gold, the history, the legacy, all of that. There's a couple ways you can lean. But the details within the organization is what's to be invested in to create these foundational roots that no matter what.
You mean depth in the front office and this kind of stuff that you mentioned?
Not even just that. I think a number of things. You got, whether it's front office depth, whether it's development, right? Which young players, which they've done a great job at developing young players. Austin's developed, Kuz was another one. Caruso was another one. But I'm saying holistically, right? Sometimes when you're the prettiest girl in the room, you don't necessarily do the detailed things. Like you could just put your hair in a ponytail, put a white beater on, some jeans,
curse of the gifted,
and go out, right?
Yeah, curse of the gifted. If it's easier for you, you don't work as hard.
When you're not the prettiest girl in the room, you have to do all the little details. OKC, they're going to do, because, no offense, but where would you rather live?
LA.
Exactly. So I just think that.
Excellent. So you heard what Rich Paul had to say. What are my thoughts on this? This is insane. This is absolutely insane. And these comments reveal a lot. But I got a question, though. If the Lakers was such a rudderless franchise, why did you stay for 7 years? Why did you stay all these years? Why didn't you and your client request a trade to go elsewhere? If there was such a disorganized franchise that didn't know what they were doing, why did they sign Bronny James? Why did you push for them to sign Bronny James? You're talking about the Lakers not being good enough to win a championship. When they were drafting Bronny, did you think that was helping their championship aspirations? This is a shot at the Lakers because the Lakers didn't give his client a contract extension. This is a shot at Rob Pelinka. It's a clear shot at them, right? A clear shot at them. You're talking about the most popular NBA franchise in the world, one of the most popular recognizable brands in the world, that have won 17 championships. But they're not a winning organization because they don't have all of the mechanisms in place like the other franchise. Well, then, how do they win all these championships? Or rather, all of those other teams that have all of these mechanisms in place, why aren't they as successful as the Lakers? Why are the Lakers just so good at recruiting? Well, some people say, well, you live in LA. Yeah, the Clippers are in LA too. The Clippers are in LA too. Yeah, they're there too. The last time I checked. The Clippers are in LA. So what does LA have to do with it? If that's the case, why doesn't everybody go to the Clippers? The Lakers are a championship franchise. They know how to recruit players. Going all the way back to Dr. Jerry Buss. Dr. Buss was the one that helped keep Kobe Bryant when him and after Shaq had left and Kobe was like, bro, I'm going to be out of here. He did that. What about Jerry West? and the role that he played, the architect that he has been, or that he was, in terms of building out championship cultures, like he did with the Lakers, to a certain extent with the Golden State. What about him? The Lakers are not a championship franchise? Who are you bringing up? The Miami Heat? How many championships does the Miami Heat have? What, 1, 2, 3, maybe? I think 3. 3 championships? And you're comparing them to the Lakers? That they don't know what they're doing? Because they don't have all of these guys. Look, let me relate this to podcasts. Okay? You have a lot of podcasts. These guys have the bells and the whistles. They have all of the expensive lights. They have this. They have that. They have that. They have this. They have this. They have that. They have the editor, this guy, that guy, this guy, that guy, right? They have all of the things in place, but they don't get no views. But nobody watches them. And then you have some other guys who don't need all of that nonsense, and they're doing fantastically well. They're not doing it the way where everybody has this cubicle. No, some people have a totally different methodology, and they're still very successful. Very, very successful. But to say the Lakers are not a winning franchise, if the Lakers are not a winning franchise, why didn't you convince your client to jump ship? Why were you guys upset that the Lakers didn't give you a contract extension if they are a confused franchise? Why would you want to stay there if they're a confused franchise? Or is it that you didn't really want to stay at the Lakers? You like the name and all of that stuff, and the fact that it's in LA and you have the visibility and all. Is it that? Is it that? I mean, what are we talking about here? The Lakers have been to how many championship appearances since 2007? 7? How many other franchises have done that? How many? How many? But this is where we are. Now we're at the point where on their way out, they're really now letting you guys what they thought all along about you. Now y'all are hearing it, that they don't know what they're doing. Imagine the team that don't know what they're doing is the same team that drafted Bronny. I wonder if they knew what they were doing then. I wonder. Well, Lakers, you're getting what you deserve. I'm talking about the Lakers management. You're getting what you deserve. You got into bed with this guy. This is going to be the results of it. Now you have his agent talking about players on your roster, recommending coaching decisions in terms of who they should bench and all of that, talking about how you should run your franchise, etc., etc. This is where we at. This is where we are at. LeBron not too long ago decided that he wanted to come into the podcasting world, and he started off with that show, Mind the Game, with originally JJ Redick as the head coach. But over some time, we quickly began to realize that that show was just one show based off just narratives and all of that. They were always going to agree with one another. Then JJ got the coaching job, and then all of a sudden, Steve Nash took the job, and that was like when it just turned into just an unstoppable disaster. Steve Nash up there looking like a damn hostage. He doesn't have an opinion. Everything that LeBron says is correct. He doesn't push back. Everything that LeBron says is great. It's just a disgrace of a show. So when we heard the news that Max Kellerman and Rich Paul were going to be doing a show together via Bill Simmons, some of us were like, okay, is this going to be another twerkathon? Well, as it would turn out, it's not. Max Kellerman is very much so an equal on this show. And what he has been doing is he has been pushing back on a lot of the nonsense that other people would not. Had you put somebody else in that seat, he wouldn't have been saying anything, right? So Max Kellerman now, they were talking about, LeBron and all of these things. And he brought up a thing that a lot of us in the independent space spoke about, but nobody in big media spoke. Absolutely nobody. And that was the antic that LeBron pulled off. I forgot the team that they were losing, the Phoenix Suns, where during the game, he's over there fraternizing with the opposing, during the game, laughing with the opposing team while the Lakers are losing. And then to make matters worse, all of the main starters are out of the starting lineup in the fourth quarter. LeBron is sitting on 6 points. Then he just goes out there to try to stat pad to get his 10-point streak. And it was one of the most disgusting things we had ever seen. Like, it was just so disgusting, bro. And even when LeBron was walking off the court, he knew, like, that was a bozo move. You can look at his face and he knew, like, yeah, this ain't it. Well, to my surprise, Max Kellerman brought that point up to Rich Paul. And not only did he bring it up, he was talking about how much of a bozo LeBron was looking like when he did that. And I was like, whoa, okay. Okay, excellent. So what we want to do is we want to play the sound for you guys. Listen to it carefully. And we're going to come back and react to what Max had to say to Rich Paul. Take a listen to that there.
That gets to the game the other night, right? It would be hard for me to imagine on a Pat Riley, Eric Spoelstra team. You're getting blown out. Like I'm going back to the streak now of consecutive double-digit scoring games for LeBron. And the streak's on the line, and they're getting blown out. Mm-hmm. Phoenix, right? Was it the Phoenix game? This is already 2 games ago.
Yeah, I think I didn't watch the game. Okay. But I think it was, yeah.
And JJ Redick is visibly mad. Who, by the way, JJ's done an incredible job coaching this team because through injury to LeBron, to Luka, doesn't matter who it is, they still win.
But do you think they're contenders?
We'll get to that in a second. I mean, because playoffs are different than the regular season. But LeBron is joking around with dudes on the Phoenix bench and on the court. And as a fan, before I even see JJ's reaction, I'm thinking, LeBron, what are you doing? That's a bad look. You're getting blown out. And then you're still in the game, even though you're getting blown out. And then you take a 3 to keep the streak alive in a blowout. Man, that's some right? And JJ's pissed. You can see he's pissed. But then in the very next game, I think like that was the fact that JJ handled it this way, and maybe this bodes well for the Lakers and the culture you're talking about. He was clearly not happy with LeBron. And the very next game, with the streak still on the line, LeBron makes the right basketball play and passes it to Hachimura. Yeah. And Hachimura buries the shot, and they win the game. And that seemed to be, and then LeBron balled out in his next game. And that seemed to me, you could maybe identify, if this works out for the Lakers and that they at least make a little run in the playoffs, however it ends up, you could identify that moment where JJ is establishing a culture even to LeBron James, and where LeBron makes amends, because it felt to me watching the Phoenix game that he was making amends for the previous game. Not the Phoenix game, the next game, where he's making amends and passing the ball and ending the streak by making the right play to Hachimura, almost to make up for his behavior in the previous game.
Well, I don't know if it's to make up, because I don't think he needs to make up, but I know what you're saying. It's 2 things. JJ was pissed, right? But this guy had been in the league for 23 years.
Yeah.
He knows if he did something that wasn't right, but those 2 things aren't the most important thing in that situation. The most important thing in that situation is to be LeBron and be open-minded to do what? Allow yourself to be reprimanded.
That's disciplined. Right.
Yeah. And now, the next game, you make which he got criticized for making that same play to Korver, to Daniel Marshall, to Mo Williams or whoever else, right, for many years. Same play. We can go back and look at the tape.
Right. He didn't want to shoot it. Yeah.
Yeah, same play. I mean, I thought the streak was a little overrated anyway.
Then why is he taking a 3 at the end of a blowout if it's overrated?
Why is he taking
it? It seems like he didn't think it was. This is what it felt like, Rich. From where I'm sitting, you're the right guy to ask, but from where I'm sitting, it felt to me like LeBron realized after that, oh, up. Like he keeps a streak alive. That's whatever, but it's like this very long streak by shooting a 3 in a blowout at the end of a game. It felt intentional. And the very next game, you're telling me that calculus doesn't occur to him? He's not doing the calculation in his mind like, I got to kind of...
Well, listen, he could reprimand himself, of course.
Right.
Like I said, I wasn't watching that game. I didn't see that game. But yeah, whatever it looked like and felt like, obviously the media talked about it. They didn't talk about the right play, I tell you that. I didn't see the guys that was whatever. But yeah, I think, look, those guys at that level, you know when you did something that probably you
So is it coincidence that JJ does that? He makes the right play the next game, then he goes for what, 29 and whatever it was the other night?
Yeah.
In a win?
I don't know if it's coincidence, but me personally, and he'll tell you this, I always like when he chooses efficiency over entertainment.
Okay, explain.
So you heard what Max Kellerman had to say. First of all, I got to say I'm stunned. right? Because it's one of the few moments you get somebody to go out there and say something that most people thought. Everybody else just twerks it up around the issue. They just, most of these guys, even some of the NBA, they just acted like they didn't even see it. It's like, we're not going to say anything. They just acted like as if they didn't even see it. And Max Kellerman spoke to the millions of people that witnessed that and said, this is ridiculous. But what's even better is that he said it to Rich Paul, and he now tried, and to Rich Paul, to give him some credit, he actually, he acknowledged it. He acknowledged it and said, yeah, like, yes, like it wasn't a good look, right? It wasn't a good look, and maybe he tried to make amends for it. So in that moment, I saw some honest conversation, some candid conversation between these two guys. And if you're telling me that this is the way the show is going to go, where Rich Paul says something, Max Kellerman pushes back and gives an honest opinion on these matters, then I think it'll be a good show. Because now at least you have some balance. Mind the Game is horrible because all you have is LeBron saying things and Steve Nash just sits up there and agrees with every single syllable that he utters out of his mouth. That's not interesting. That's boring. Steve Nash looks like a kiss ass that's just trying to save his job or something. And I'm amazed at how much Steve Nash has debased himself in that show. We don't even get to hear from his basketball acumen. All you hear is what LeBron says, and then he just echoes it, right? That show is not fun to watch whatsoever. But this show looks like it has some promise, right? It looks like it has some promise here. So I'll be very interested to see how they continue to develop it together. But so far, I like the job that Max Kellerman is doing. And I got to give the show a thumbs up. You know, we're seeing a balance. Had it just been one-sided, then I'm like, I'm not watching this crap. But the fact that is, you know, both people are kind of giving their point of views and pushing back on each other respectfully, I like that. As I told you guys, I'm not subbed to Shannon's channels no more, so I don't be knowing when they'll be dropping videos. But today, a video popped up on my timeline from his channel Nightcap, and it had the following headline saying, Unc and ISO Joe react to the Lakers looking hopeless on defense against the Spurs in 132-119 loss. Now, funny enough, I watched that game yesterday, and I commented 2 times during the game. I think the first time I commented was surely in the first half, and I wrote, "How is this happening? Lakers, get it together." And by the end of the game, I wrote, "This team is ruined," with the shaking my head emoji. What happened last night for that team? As I said, the Lakers lost to the Spurs without Victor Wembanyama. Somehow, some way, they found a way to pull that off, right? And if you're watching the game, it became apparently obvious that the Lakers just were not very good defensively. They simply were. They were not, right? They couldn't guard anybody. And it's one of the reasons I said that I'm highly doubtful of the trio of Luka, LeBron, and Reid working. I said that. I also said that I liked this team prior to LeBron's return. You remember I said that. The reason I said that was because they had Marcus Smart inserted in the lineup. And he gave that team a defensive bite or at the attack point, right? Which is something they didn't have. And this has been my greatest fear. Now, as we're currently speaking, the Lakers are the number 4 seed in the West. They went from the 2, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that we're not playing very good teams. Now they're at the number 4, and they do have a break because I think they're going to be playing the Utah Jazz next. So the Lakers have a very light schedule to start off this particular campaign year, right? But it was a disaster, a total disaster. And I'm going to get a little bit more into the breakdown of the game. But I actually want to get into what Shannon had to say, because he's echoing some of the sentiments here that I just said. And you can see that Shannon looked pretty defeated after the game. We can't show you. I mean, the dude didn't even shave before the game. Like, I've never seen Shannon Sharp with a gray beard coming in. Like, that's how, like, the dude just looked dejected. Excellent. So we want you guys to take a listen to what Shannon Sharp had to say here during their post-game analysis of the game. And I want to come back and continue on the show. Take a listen to Shannon and these guys here.
Ocho, Joe, Spurs got 39 in the first quarter. Yeah. Got 31 in the second quarter. So that's 70 points at the half. Then they go get 34 in the third. That's 104 points. You're going to have a very tough time. You let teams score that many points, you're going to have a hard ass time. Unless you're shooting at an elite level, you let a team score like that, you got your work cut out for them. You got your work cut out for you.
Yeah.
And then they got 28. Then they got 28 in the fourth quarter when they kind of took their foot off the gas.
Yeah.
The issue for the Lakers, and I still believe this, Joe, and I think you agree, is going to be defend. Can they defend? Can they defend? Because they're going to score. Luka's going to give you. I mean, he got an easy. He's going to go off every first quarter because he's going to get up about 15 shots. So there's going to be a great chance he's going to have somewhere between 20 and 20, maybe even 30 points in the first quarter. Yeah. So he's going to get off to a great start. The question is, can they defend? Because what happens when your shots? See, what happened was they got off to a great start. And when it wasn't defending, it was fine because the Spurs missed a couple of shots and the Lakers, right back at them. But what happens when those shots stop falling? Joe and Ocho, and then all of a sudden the other team couldn't miss. You can't get no stops to quell that rush. Ocho, looking at this game, man. I mean, look, Stephon Castle. You see why he run Rookie of the Year?
Yes, sir.
Fox, De'Aaron Fox.
Hey, that's that boy now.
They're always going to be a problem if you go back and study the Lakers. Joe and Ocho. If you look at the Lakers, say the past since LeBron been there. Yeah, the thing that's always giving them problem: elite courts. Quick backcourts.
Yeah. Guys who can score.
That's always go back and look at since LeBron has been there. Teams that De'Aaron Fox is always giving them fits. Shea is always going to give them fits. Somebody that has an elite Tyrese Maxey, guys that Ja Morant, anybody that has an elite backcourt is going to cause them problems because they can't defend that. They can't defend on ball. So you come with the help, they swing it. You rotate one more time, now guys wide open. See, they don't have guys that they can't rotate multiple times. And the thing what makes OKC so great, they can rotate once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times a lady.
Yeah.
And they always gonna have 3 elite level on ball defenders. They're gonna be on the court at all times.
Fantastic. So you heard what they had to say. All right, so let's get a little bit further into the details here. Okay. Going back to the box score. LeBron had 19 points, 3 turnovers, 3 blocks, 8 assists, 15 rebounds on 50% shooting from the field. 83% shooting from the three-point free throw line, 0 from 3. Rui had 8 points. Ayton had 11 and 8. The person that really stood out was Austin Reeves. He had 15 points, 7 assists, 8 rebounds, but he only shot 37% from the floor, 33% from 3. Luka, on the other hand, had 35 points, 8 assists, 5 rebounds on 46% shooting from the floor, 37% from the three-point line. And, of course, you had Marcus Smart come off the bench with 26 points, and he hit 8 three-pointers. A few things that are standing out to me. What I'm beginning to notice is a slip in Austin Reeves' production ever since LeBron has returned. Since LeBron has returned, he's now averaging 24.5 points per game on 44% shooting from the floor, 39% shooting from 3. His numbers weren't as great as they were before because now the shots have to go around. You now have another guy that's coming back to the team that's now going to be attempting around 14 or 15 shots. Granted, Reeves attempted more shots than LeBron, 2 more. He had 16 field goal attempts to LeBron's 14. But Reeves just looks out of whack. That's one of the first takeaways. The second takeaway is this: the Lakers are a disaster of a defensive team. They're in the bottom 10 when it comes to defensive rate. If you look at their rating right now defensively, they're ranked number 21. Offensively, they're ranked 7th, but that's not going to get it done, right? You got to be at least a top 10 offense and a top 10 defense to think you're doing anything. Let's look at opponents scoring per game. They're 19th. They're giving up 117 points a game to opponents, and they're scoring 118. So a couple bounces here, a couple bounces there, they're losing these games. The defense is atrocious. Luka Doncic is an atrocious defender, but that we already knew, right? The Lakers signed up for this guy, so Luka being bad on defense is not a new revelation. We always knew this. Luka's always been bad. But somehow, some way, Luka, with his bad defense, still found a way to help the Mavs get to the finals. Which means that what? The Mavericks put the necessary pieces around him to help him on that other side so he could still be effective with his scoring and his playmaking and his rebounding. That we don't have with the Lakers. Because Luka's a poor defender. Reeves is a poor defender, and LeBron is a poor defender. Both Luka and LeBron are known for not getting back on defense. As a matter of fact, if you were watching that game, the place where the Spurs really hurt them was on transition defense, where the Lakers just seemed absolutely, totally disinterested. They're not going to play. They can't play defense. And guess what? They're not going to play defense anytime soon. They're not going to play defense anytime soon. It's just they are simply not going to do that. And now Reeves looks like a worse player now that LeBron is returned. Now, some of it is his fault. He's missing shots, but this is what I'm seeing here. Right. And maybe he will have a bounce back game and all of that, but it's not looking good for Austin Reeves right now. Another thing that stood out to me, somehow, some way, LeBron still, in terms of starters, led the team in negative plus minus with a negative 16. So even with his 19 points, even with his 15 rebounds, even with his 50% shooting from the field, 80% shooting from the free throw line, somehow, some way, the team was losing by 16 points when he was on the floor. And Reeves, they were losing by 5. And Luka 2. So I think that number is pointing to the defense, right? Overall, they're not a good team, but you can't hide these numbers. Now, they're going to be able to get away with it because they're facing some pretty easy teams. But what I have noticed is that whenever the Lakers play a serious or halfway decent team, these things are going to happen. They're going to happen. So one of the best things that can happen for the Lakers right now is that LeBron's contract is expiring at the end of this year. So you're getting one bad defender off the team at the very least, and then they can work their way up from that. That's my only thought process at this point. So let's get into today's topic, man. So Stephen A. Smith, man, is becoming like a lightning rod for so many different things, man. Right? And it all really kicked off after that, you know, the rant that he had towards Jasmine Crockett. Then he doubled down. Then he went in, you know, then people started pushing back on him. And then recently he made an appearance on The View. And he was, you know, doubling down on his ridiculous position about Senator Mark Kelly. I mean, it just been a total disaster, right? And everybody in the political world that's heard what Stephen A. Smith have really been coming from, right? Like they've, you know. So when we got this story, I was like, again, like what happened now, right? So, you know, throughout that whole Jasmine Crockett thing, you know, one of his former colleagues that he used to work with at ESPN First Take, Kerry Champion, actually called him out as well. Man, he did a show responding to her. I think he also responded to Jamel Hill. I don't know if Jamel Hill came on the show. I don't know. I don't remember that part specifically. But anyway, I woke up this morning and everybody was sending me this topic. Hey, man, did you hear what Stephen A. Smith had to say what Joy Reid had to say to Stephen A. Smith? What Joy Reid had to say to Stephen A. Smith? And I'm like, I didn't. Right? I didn't. Yesterday, we did a lot of content, man. I went to bed super late, like around 6:30, 7 a.m. So I'm like, nah, I didn't hear it. So I immediately started to hunt down a clip to hear what, you know, Joy Reid said. And Joy Reid was getting in his ass, right? But I was trying to figure out where did all of this start? Like, what caused all of this, right? So I then had to do some quick research to understand, well, what did Stephen A. Smith say about Joy Reid? Because all I remember is that her show got canceled, I don't know, 9-10 months ago or something like that, but I didn't know the details of it. I wasn't following politics as closely then as I am now, right? So I then went to go find the clip of what Stephen A. Smith said about her initially after she lost her job with, I think, MSNBC. And I'm like, okay, I'm beginning to see where all of this is coming from. So what we want to do is we want to play what he had to say about her about 9-10 months ago, right? Because it's going to give this show some depth. And then we're going to come back and continue on with the show. Take a listen to Stephen A. Smith's comments here towards Joy Reid about 9 months ago.
A lot of people have thrown out opinions. We've seen people, supporters of Joy Reid, speak adamantly and emphatically online in support of her. You've got some folks calling for folks not to watch MSNBC anymore, etc. And obviously, a lot of folks out there are going to point to race and race playing a role in all of this, because with all of the changes that are taking place, why does she have to be the show that goes? We're not going to do that today. Because if we had to do that today, we'd have to do it every day. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a real frank discussion right now about what transpires when it comes to us as black folks. We come out of the womb knowing we've got to be twice as good to get half as much. This is not new. And as a result of that, one would argue we're at a decisive disadvantage at times. Okay, fine. There's racism, there's prejudice out there. Yes, that's true. Not in every case, not in all cases, but in some cases, fine. We just have to be careful when we make that argument. I've invited Joy Reid on this show, and I'm looking forward to her accepting my invitation so we can talk. Let me tell you how I feel about Joy Reid first. I respect the hell out of this woman. She is highly intelligent, very, very knowledgeable, very passionate. She has a lot to say. She is more than a conscientious observer, and she is fearless in calling out what she believes to be inequities, unfairness, and the like anywhere, but especially as it pertains to the black community, and obviously as it pertains to leftists, to folks on the left. She is a Democrat. I'm not saying whether she's a Democrat officially or not. I'm just saying she leans left. Obviously, if you're on MSNBC, that is the belief. But we can't stop there, y'all. I saw what Megyn Kelly said about her and how Megyn Kelly basically, to some degree, took joy in her being axed. I take no joy in seeing Joy Reid axed from that time slot. As the reports go, she was making about an annual salary in the range of about $3 million a year. I don't want any money taken out of her pocket. But when we want to bring up race as the cause for her being gone, I don't think we're serving ourselves well. Michael Steele is going to be there as well as a replacement, along with Alicia. And you got to remember Menendez is right there as well. It's hard to make the race argument when her replacements are reported to be three individuals that already have a weekend show on the network and they're going to be inserted in the network. And I'm just reading from the reports here, okay? I have not spoken to Joy Reid. I don't know. I've had the pleasure of meeting her on a couple of occasions. I certainly respect her. And I'm not here to castigate her in any way, but we do have to talk about the business in a very, very honest and fair fashion. Joy Reid was incredibly outspoken against the Trump administration, as has always been the case. Since election, her ratings have dropped by 47%. 47%. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't keep your job when stuff like that happens. You just don't. Nielsen Media Research revealed that Reid's show averaged around 759,000 viewers in early December, a 47% decline from the 1.4 million average it achieved in 2024 leading up to the election day. Her ratings basically were damn near cut in half. On February 20th, Reid's show was reported to have around 778,000 viewers, while Fox News' Laura Ingraham attracted an estimated 3.4 million in the same slot. Ladies and gentlemen, that's 3.4 million to 778,000. I'm going to repeat it again. That's 3.4 million to 778,000. That can't be ignored. When we make the argument and we want to bring race into the equation, we got to have it. We got to have the evidence. It can't be subliminal. It can't be something that's assumed. It can't be something that can that is rife with plausible deniability. We got to know it. Now, if you want to sit up there and say Trump had something to do with it, that's fine, because he's coming after them. He's coming after G. He's coming after Mr. Brian Roberts for Comcast and their left-leaning, a news outlet. He's definitely, or a channel rather. He's definitely doing that. We already seen him sue ABC and George Stephanopoulos. We already see him going after MSNBC. Donald Trump had an instant comment on Joy Reid on his Truth Social platform in the immediate aftermath of her being let go, dissing her and enjoying her departure. He's coming after folks. So now what it does is it provokes a bigger conversation about the networks themselves. And what are they going to stand up for? Or are they going to be strictly about their bottom line and kowtow to the president of the United States? Because he's coming for folks that he deems enemies. He's made no apologies nor any secret about it. That's what he's doing. And if you're going to support Joy Reid, the best way for you to do it was to make sure she didn't suffer a 47% drop in the ratings.
Excellent. So you heard what he had to say about that, right? So based off of what I was able to ascertain from him, her show was canceled right after the elections, right? And it had to do with a 47% drop in ratings, right? Now, I want to say this quickly, however. If you go back about 11 months ago to that period, let's say November, December, January, that period, what you were witnessing was a shift, right, in the consciousness of a lot of people. People, in terms of like commentators, Americans, or whatever, they were pivoting towards a lot of conservative podcasters, conservative news outlets, right? Because there was this big wave of support towards Donald Trump after the I think the attempted assassination, when the bullet I think hit his ear. Then it was the other one, this other story we heard about someone trying to get him in Mar-a-Lago. So he had so much support. And at that time, you had so many people endorsing him. I think he had done the Joe Rogan interview leading up to election night. So there was all of this support. And, you had a lot of podcasters, Andrew Schultz, all of these guys were throwing their support in the direction of Trump. So all of the momentum was heading in that direction, right? Literally, that's what was happening. So around November, December, January, it was February, it was at its zenith at that point in time. But then over time, things started to switch. And I think what happened was Joy Reid was there while that switch was taking place, because they're talking about a drop that she had around those months. And that's something that Stephen A. Smith himself alluded to. But I want to point some things out to you, because the shift has also been taking place in the inverse. What I've been witnessing over the last few months is a huge surge for liberal podcasters. Huge surge. And I'm just going to go off of some YouTube numbers that I just want to quickly give you guys. Okay. Midas Touch, I believe, is now the #1 political podcast in the United States. I don't know their podcast numbers, but I do know their YouTube numbers. All right. Let me just give you some of the months, right? Midas Touch, okay, just to give you an example. In September, they picked up 140,000 subs. Mitch, you can put this up if you want to. 140,000 subscribers. Next month, they picked up 140,000 subscribers in October. November, they picked up 110. December, they picked up 80. Then what happened? The election takes place. Then you see a reverse. January, they pick up 250,000 subs. February, they pick up 470,000 subs, right? And in those same months, in December, they picked up 111 million. Then January, 200 million views. Then February, 264 million views. Then March, 334 million views. And now last month, they got 247 million views. You look at another platform, Secular Talks, same thing. Heading into the elections, the numbers weren't really that high. December, 50,000, January, February, 100,000 plus. Now, if you look at this guy's view gained over the last year, you will notice a trend. Ever since the election is when his views have now skyrocketed. You look at another guy who is an absolute powerhouse when it comes to views, Brian Tyler Cohen. Okay, during that period, well, if you look at March, or rather January, he picked up 130,000 subs, February, 200,000, March, 380,000, kind of similar to Midas Touch. That same March, he got 254 million views on YouTube. Same thing last month, 126 million views. Now, if you look at, for instance, big voices like Joe Rogan, for example, if you just look at his YouTube numbers, his subscribers have plateaued. right? But he hit 700,000 in October. November, he picked up 600,000. December, he picked up 200,000. And then since then, it's kind of been fluttering. If you look at his views, they've been hovering around 30 to 40 million every single month. Another person, although she does well, Megyn Kelly. Her biggest spike came when in November. She picked up 195 million views. Then since then, it's been kind of trending in the opposite direction. So what you've been noticing is that you've been noticing a shift, right? More people are kind of looking for these liberal voices. Now you see platforms like CNN, MSNBC bringing on podcasters and all of that. So that's a switch. So I think a lot of what you saw was when that switch was taking place, right? But anyway, Joy Reid, I think she was either on Kerry Champion's show or she was on her show. I don't know whose show it was. She decided to respond to Stephen A. Smith. And ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, it was brutal. Take a listen to Joy Reid here.
He was talking about your show. What did he say about your show? And then you had to respond. He said, I got fired for ratings. And I'm like, excuse me, sir. You got $100 million for a show with half my ratings at my worst. I had to literally Google his numbers. I'm like, how many people listen to the show? Is it like 4 million people? Oh, wait, it's like, what, 500,000 people? Dude, that's like average CNN. That's not that high. They're paying you not for your numbers, my friend. They're paying you because you are willing to say the nasty things about Black people that they want to say. You're willing to take their denigration of Black women and put it in the mouth of a Negro. And because you're willing to put the denigration of Black women in particular into a Negro's mouth, you now think that, oh, I must be a freaking political genius. But just be clear, you're not being paid for your numbers. You're being paid for what you're willing to do to us for white people's entertainment. And as long as you cool with that, bruh, keep being you. But don't come for my friends. Don't come for people that I know their value and try to devalue them in front of all the Black women who can see and hear you, because we know what you're doing.
So you heard what she had to say in response to Stephen A. Smith. What are my thoughts about this? Let's get to the heart of this issue. All right, I'm not going to be up here twerking it up for y'all and all of that. But let's get to the heart of it. At the heart of this issue that you're hearing from Joy Reid, you're hearing from Kerry Champion, I don't know, Willie D, Roland Martin, whatever. On the underlay of it, they're saying Stephen A. Smith doesn't know much when they're talking about politics, right? You have that, the kind of reoccurring threat. But then there's another aspect to this, which is they feel like here you have this very successful Black guy with one of the biggest shows in the United States, sports shows, that not only isn't defending Black women, he's actively attacking them. Going back to Jasmine Crockett, going back to his comments about Kamala Harris, going back to his comments about Michelle Obama. That is at the heart of the issue. That is exactly what is driving all of this. And she just said it there. Some people will say it explicitly, while others will suggest it subliminally. That is exactly what is at the core of all of this. People like, bro, you looking greasy out here, son. Going at the Black women like that is at the heart of it all. Trust and believe that's what's going on here. And what I'm trying to figure out is, how does Stephen A. Smith find a way to triangulate himself into this position? Really, dogs? Really, dog? You gonna find yourself on this side of the fence? Like, where now you got the ladies coming up? Son, that's not a good place to be, my boy. That ain't a good place to be, my boy. It's not. But that's where he at. He got the ladies coming after him, and he got that's exactly what is happening here. Now, in terms of, ESPN kind of paying him to be the mouthpiece to go at Black, I don't know, right? I don't even watch the First Take. Like, I just watch clips of it online. I don't know. What I do know is that ESPN gave him the creative freedom and the leeway to do his show Straight Shooter, where he can have political views, and they've made it abundantly clear that whatever Stephen A. Smith says outside of the corridors of ESPN, that has nothing to do with ESPN, right? So they've kind of washed their hands from that. You can go out there and say that nonsense. As long as you didn't say it on our platform, it has nothing to do with us, which now gives Stephen A. Smith the autonomy to go out there and say these things. Obviously, he has his radio show and all of that. But at the heart of it, is this is where we are. And that's why you heard him eventually have to kind of go back there and apologize to Jasmine. I don't know, bro. I wouldn't want to be in that position. Right? And essentially what happened, let me say this in closing. What happened was when that shift took place, Stephen A. Smith kind of jumped on a little bit late. Right? Because Stephen A. Smith voted for Kamala Harris. Some of these people in the comments don't even know this. He voted for Kamala Harris and he said, I feel like an idiot voting for Kamala Harris. So leading up to election night, he voted for Kamala. So what ended up happening was he was jumping on the ship, right? He was riding that wave. And now you're there, and now you got to stay there, right? Because for as long as I've known Stephen A. Smith, he's had a lot of liberal views. So now all of a sudden, the only thing I heard about him that sounds conservative, and I don't really think it's conservative, is his capitalistic view, where essentially he just wants to make money. Right? But I know a lot of Democrats and liberals that want to make money too. So I don't know if that's a conservative thing. But this is where it is, man. This is where it is. So you guys asked me to comment on it. Here I am.